Destiny 2 episode Heresy. Final episode of the Final Shape expansion is here, and boy, can you tell. I'd say, at least for the last 2 or 3 years, Bungie has developed a reputation for delivering engaging content in the final episode, season, or whatever else of an expansion. And at least so far, in my opinion, things are no different here in Heresy. It's an important time in any release cycle, but especially for this one as we close out the Light and Darkness saga and set up our Guardian and the story for something completely new. The story finds us starting out in the EDZ, tracking down a taken tear in our reality with support from Eris and Drifter. After fighting through some mobs of modified taken enemies and a boss, we find ourselves traversing through an Ascendant realm to re-enter the Dreadnought, presumably going after the Echo that landed here, only to realize that, as in previous episodes, we are not alone in our quest. A new Dread Subjugator baddie has also tracked the Echo to the Dreadnought, and we encounter it for the first time in the opening quest and cutscenes of the episode. Without spoiling any of the initial story beat, I'll leave it at that. The story is now once again being delivered week over week instead of all getting dropped at once like they did in episode Revenant. I've heard pretty loud feedback on both sides of this topic, people arguing for grinding it all at once, but I feel like the majority of the player base realized that there was quite the gap in things to do once they realized they didn't need to log in every week to do a new story thing. For better or worse, we're back to the weekly model in this episode for now. I personally like this, given how Bungie has kind of written and inherently structured the story beats, and how I think they intended to pace things leading up to Frontiers. After our initial encounter with the Dread, we return to Eris's apartment, which is the seasonal vendor area where we acquire the Tablet of Ruin seasonal artifact, along with the episodic quest that sends us back into the Dreadnought via the Nether activity. Seems like we have a lot of Taken to destroy to get some answers. The Nether activity itself seems really intriguing so far. I don't know if that is just because it's the new shiny thing. That's partly the reason, I'm sure, but it is a nice mix-up from some of the more traditional seasonal activity variations we've had in the past. Definitely feels more like the Coil from Season of the Wish, which was a really well-made and well-received activity. I'm hoping this can stand up to the test of time. I've done maybe 3 full runs so far, and the variation in activity bubble order and objectives has been nice. It makes it feel less monotonous. I was in a duo the first time I ran this in Explorer mode, and then was in a full match-made fire team each run after that. I've seen the chatter about how brutal it is to run this as a solo player, and I can totally understand that based on my day one experience with the severe lack of healing. Having 2 other targets for enemies to look at aside from me is definitely the way to go. Recently, Bungie did state that there are some issues with how healing is working in the Nether and that they will be taking a pass at making adjustments, so stay tuned to their official channels for updates on that. Hopefully the tuning will favor the solo player, as I didn't encounter much issue with the way it was designed and balanced for a 3 Guardian fire team. But if you find that healing is becoming an issue, pay attention to the boon system in the Nether. There are major and minor boons that you'll notice when you complete either a major activity or parts of an activity. So each activity bubble in the Nether is broken into 3 parts. You enter the activity bubble. There are usually kind of 3 objectives that you need to complete before you get to the boss or the final encounter for that bubble. So every time you complete a minor objective, like 1 of 3, 2 of 3, and I think even 3 of 3, you'll have the option to select a minor boon, which these normally provide you some sort of like stat boost, health bonus, something that will help you through the activity. And they obviously, the perks of these play into the fact that they know that you're not healing. They know that ammo is limited, etc., etc. So pay attention to those boons when they pop up, when you're completing each kind of sub step. And then once you defeat the boss of each activity bubble, you'll be presented with options for major boons. Some of these are also corrupted, so be sure to read the tooltips on these. And by corrupted, I mean you will get a pretty substantial buff or bonus to something, but there's also a negative side of that, or they call it the corrupted. It's kind of like a debuff almost. Like one of them I know is if you select this major boon, the corrupted portion of it states you will not be able to select any other major boons during the activity. So be sure to read those, get familiar with them, and be sure to leverage those based on your loadout, your team comp, whatever, to take advantage of them as best you can when you're running in the Nether. In addition to the activity design, there does also seem to be a fair amount of side quests, secrets, and other things to find and do in the Nether, which adds another fun layer to the activity that, at least until I find all those secrets, will keep me coming back and investigating the play space closely. While completing activities, opening chests, and generally doing stuff in the Nether, you'll be picking up the Sigil Shards currency. This is used for this episode's version of loot focusing, which we'll cover in a minute, but also for purchasing runic enhancements. These include different levels of modifiers to enhance your abilities in episode activities. By default, you will start out at level 1 enhancement, but will be able to upgrade to levels 2 and 3 as you move through the reward tree at the shaping slab in the seasonal area in Eris's apartment. The higher the level of enhancement, the more sigil shards you will need to spend to unlock them. The total cap of this currency is 300, so be sure to spend them. You will also be collecting a material called Metastasized Essentia. You can turn this in at a taken orb pillar thing in Eris's apartment near the shaping slab to convert them into Essence of Desire, as well as drops of reprised Season of Arrival's weapons with updated perks. This kind of dunk spot I find very similar to Season of the Deep, where you could dunk the fish that you caught to get rewards of many different varieties. So what about Essence of Desire? This is another currency that you can use to open certain locked chests in the Nether. I think they usually cost 2 essence per chest. This can be combined with the Scotopic Runic enhancement to see what is in the chest before you open it, like what weapon type or armor or whatever. This can help you spend less time guessing at the reward you'll get from the chest if you are after a particular weapon from the start. Essence of Desire is also used with the loot focusing system via the Tome of Want. The Tome of Want is this episode's mechanism for grinding the loot you want. It appears to be a reimagined version of episode Revenant's tonic system. The Tome of Want includes an engravings section, which contains different artifact boosts, and then below that, there's the ritual rites section, which allows you to spend your essence and sigil currencies to focus loot drops to your liking. There are general rare taken scriptures that provide a pretty kind of broad umbrella of reward options to focus from, like episodic or reprised weapons, global loot pools, and armor. There are also legendary scriptures that are one-time use to provide an additional level of focusing. So like in the example on screen, I start out by focusing for episodic weapons, and then from there narrowing it down even further to just the auto rifles, which means this Tome of Want configuration should always drop me the new Adamantite Strand Support Frame auto rifle. Once you assign your scriptures, it does cost a couple Essence of Desire to activate the tome, which will then provide you with 3 reward drops as you complete activities. I think 3 reward drops is great given the currency you spend to focus, and will hopefully help people farm what they want. The scriptures can drop from Nether activities, but you can also spend sigils to unlock them as desired. There are also exotic scriptures that can drop from activities that are also one-time use, and I believe they cost a few more Essence of Desire to activate, and also only drop 1 reward instead of 3. If none of this Tome of Want business makes particular sense, just follow the introductory quest in the game for this item. It will walk you through everything and give you the chance to slot examples of focusing to get a feel for how it works. So for now, those appear to be the basics of episode Heresy Act 1 activities. I do like the approach to the Tome of Want. The Nether seems really interesting and engaging, at least for now. And as long as we don't repeat the focusing errors of Revenant, where it just wasn't working properly for the item you chose to focus for, I think this will be pretty well received by the community. We, of course, also have a new dungeon coming, and I'm sure plenty more secrets and things to unlock in the Nether as we go week over week in the story. So I'll do my best to keep up with those things and try out this new video format that I haven't really touched before. So let me know what you think in the comments down below, and hopefully I'll catch you in the next one.